Hawaii. This is Pokalai Nui, and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri. Welcome back to the program. If you're just joining us, we have been talking about the international arena, what happened at the Democratic National Convention as well as a Republican National Convention, and the leaving out of all of these issues about international relations and what the United States should be doing. And there was really no appropriate debate on these issues, and the what has happened during the Obama administration with regards to the wiping away of certain very fundamental human rights or civil rights, rights within the United States. And Johan Galtung's article talks about it, especially as it dealt with, and let me see if I can find that, the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, and that act that sets aside the requirement that that you can be punished, or you should not be punished without a sentence. In this case, they go ahead and apply a punishment, but there's no clear sentence. Or that there can be a sentence without law. And that is not retroactive law. The next is no detention without a hearing, or habeas corpus rules or procedures. That has been wiped out, and all of that by the stroke of an Obama pen on a New Year's Eve that destroyed all of that. And why wasn't that discussed? Why wasn't the issues with regards to U.S. intervention in other countries also made a point, discussed, and really having a convention with an open discussion on these matters? And so Obama is Johan Galtung is railing at this lack of real democracy in this showcase that should have been one in which these important questions are debated. And very unfortunately, neither in the Republican convention nor in the Democrat convention was this really taken up. This is Pokalai Nui. Our telephone number here is 524-1080 if you would like to call. It's 37 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock, and today is the 15th day of September, and this is our second part of the program. Let's go to our caller. Aloha, caller. Thank you for calling. Welcome to the program.
Hey, Polka. How you doing today?
I'm fine.
Good. Good to hear your show. Taking such serious matters under consideration, and then infusing Brother Iz's wonderful voice and music is certainly a nice way to spend a Saturday.
Well, thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about the important quotes from Galton's book as it relates to international affairs.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to take a couple of seconds to tie it into domestic affairs.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make some suggestions about what can be done about this crisis that we're facing.
Yes, go ahead.
And it seems to me that, and I'm not alone in this analysis, but today it was reported that there are over 20 countries that are demonstrating and protesting.
Mm-hmm.
At least half of them are manifested in violent demonstrations. A lot of this as being reported by foreign experts, foreign in the sense that these are people who actually live in these countries that are going through protests, and that you alluded to, is this intense hatred to the United States. I would agree with you that it's grounded in the colonialization and exploitation of the people in these countries in order to help preserve a dying capitalist system in the United States. It also is reflected in the preservation of leaders in these nations that are oftentimes selected by the United States and help to shepherd them into leadership positions. The military spending on these nations, especially in the Middle East and Asian-based countries, is unprecedented in the history of humanity. There is a term that is used in the general lay public as a result of a book that was written. It's called the tipping point. And this concept of the tipping point is when multiple factors come together that represent a tipping point for a transformative change in society. If we look at the international scene, those persons who think that the alternative to what's happening is that these protests will die out and that people will be exhausted of exerting their energy, are naive and underestimating the hatred that is fueling these protests and how the hatred is grounded in legitimate injustices that is being implemented by the leaders of the United States, not necessarily the people, but the leaders. If we think about Iraq, we can remember that the surveys that were done 6 months, 3 months, and 1 month before the invasion, that there was an average of 53% of people in the United States who were polled did not want an intervention. Once the intervention occurred in Iraq and the bombing of Baghdad, there was this epidemic of nationalism and cries about USA, USA that dominated the scene. Now, this is tied into this tipping point. Is tied into the ways in which international events are tied into domestic events. The unprecedented level of economic spending. I don't know if your listenership knows, but of the total amount of military spending in the world, the United States spends 43% of all the military spending by all of the nations in the world. This is an unprecedented form of empire and imperialism that's used to, as we hear often, guarantee the ongoing livelihood of a certain quality of life in the United States. We see right now that there are 48 million people in poverty, highest at any point in recorded history, in our recorded history. We see that 1 out of 7 people in the United States in poverty. We see 1 out of every 5 children living in poverty. We see still double figure for people who are not able to secure health care in this country. Suicide rates with veterans is unprecedented. Polka, what I'm suggesting is that there is a process of the tipping point where something is happening. Right now we have economists talking about a severe economic downturn and that there is another recession on the horizon. I think some of the recent actions by the Federal Reserve suggest that that's a possibility. There are two, at least two, and probably more, options that can occur. One is as international situation deteriorates, as the basic needs of people in this country deteriorate, there is going to be a need for increasing police state in international affairs and in the United States. That's a possible alternative. The prison industrial complex in part has created more prisons to house people. I don't know if your listenership knows that the interstate and intrastate highways are designed, and were designed in the mid-1950s, to ensure that tanks could be used in case of domestic insurrection. And so if you drive down the highway, you'll notice that the lanes are wide enough to enable tanks to proceed. And their standard architectural design of all interstate highways. There is a possibility that martial law can be ushered in by the United States in these countries in the Middle East, because if the people continue to protest and organize and then take over oil refineries, that's going to be a major problem that necessitates police intervention. At the United States, if another major economic crisis compounds the misery index in this country, it's reasonable to predict that people will also demonstrate here and raise dissent and require police intervention, military intervention at home, much like we saw in the labor movement in the 1920s, in the 1960s, etc. There's an alternative to that possibility. And that alternative is for the people in the United States to do what is going on around the world. And that is moving towards organization. How organization starts is where one individual says, hey, you know, enough is enough here. Let's kind of talk about us going out and protesting this, because this insult to Muslim religion, is Islam, in this video is just too much, and we have all this other stuff going on. So it starts with a handful of people saying, come on, enough is enough. Let's get in the streets. I have an idea of what can be different here, and me too, I have an idea. That's how organization starts. In order to help promote a new vision of society, the people in Hawaii and in the continental United States would do well to break shackles from the reactive, crisis-oriented actions that all too often occur, and to say, hey, let's get together. Let's talk about a society that can be, that must be, as an alternative to this, and begin with small group organizing. Now, this leads up to, and my name is Michael. I've helped to author a draft of a paper that is aptly entitled Envisioning a Future for Hawaii. And you have been gracious enough to edit it on several different times. And a third person, Dr. Joel Fisher, has been very helpful in drafting it. And I see that the last draft is now in a form that can be uploaded to your website. I would like to invite the listenership to consider going to your website when it is up, and to recognize that the document there, Envisioning a Future for Hawaii, is a work in process. It's not in any way a final document. And that we're looking for people who want to take proactive action to help to participate in what could be a tipping point in Hawaii and around the world. How can we work together? And I think later, in the next week or two, it may be a good time to invite the listenership of your show to consider joining at a meeting at a designated place and time to begin the ongoing discussion of what we can and must do in Hawaii in order to deal with the international and the domestic injustices that are perpetuated. After all, we are in Hawaii a geopolitical military base of extreme importance, and we the people should be able to come together and talk about where we stand on a geopolitical military imperative here in Hawaii that will parcel out soldiers to these other nations. And so I'll stop there and listen to your comments off the air, but I really feel strongly that something is in the air, that a tipping point is possible, either towards a military state or to a state of liberation and democratic process, if we, the people, can come together to talk about a vision and to work towards realizing it. So thank you for allowing me this time.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Aloha. And if you would like to call and comment on Michael's comment, our telephone number here is 524-1080. I wasn't keeping it a secret. I just wasn't sure when Michael was satisfied with the draft that we had been working on, and so I have not posted it on my website. I will have it posted at the beginning of next week once I get back to Waianae and get some assistance in putting the document on the website. And that website is at Hawaiian Perspectives So if you would like to see the document, it will be available beginning probably on Tuesday. We'll post it as quickly as we can, and I'll give you a rundown of the document itself. But before doing that, let's go to our next caller. Aloha caller, welcome to the program.
Oh yes, I'm surprised that everybody's in agreement that what's going on in the Middle East doesn't have to do nothing with that film.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the film was just an added insult to the Islamic people, that it caught them also at
most of those Islamic people don't have YouTube.
Oh, they don't?
No. And the thing is, it was it's September 11, and the thing is, remember they attacked this guy from Libya, and that was just retaliation for killing the guy in Libya. So it was like a vengeance thing.
Okay, so you think that was it planned? Was it
planned?
It was planned. Now, how is it that while it happens in Libya, there's so many other activities going on in the rest of the Middle East, attacking American embassies? Is this all planned, or is this spontaneous?
Same thing. What you call the same thing that happened, Rodney King, opportune time to try and get something.
I see. And but Rodney King was, first of all, it was in one country, in just one locality. In this case, it's all over the Middle East.
For me, it's like basically what this the administration did was just open up. I don't want to be liked. Just tell them, you don't mess with me, I don't mess with you. That's my opinion. That's what I feel like. But the people gonna, somebody suggested, or actually, technically, when they came into the embassy, that's technically U.S. soil. They could shoot them.
Yeah, that's true, but
they didn't have no bullets. Okay. I got.
All right. Okay.
Right.
Thank you for your call.
Right.
Goodbye. And okay, there we go. Now, getting back to Michael's discussion and a general sort of open-ended invitation, I think it's just a matter of setting a date and when people would like to gather together so that we can see one another face-to-face. We can produce a document or a fundamental statement of what our beliefs are and how we envision a future for Hawaii. I think it's time, and that would be a more appropriate or a wiser response than merely taking to the streets, as might happen given the situation even here in Hawaii and in other places controlled by the United States. Our telephone number here is 524-1080. We'll go to our next caller. Aloha caller, welcome to the program.
Hello, Poka.
Yes, hi.
I'm assuming you can hear me because I cannot hear you.
Oh, I hear you fine.
Good. I was, I wanted to say I appreciate Michael's talk just a few minutes ago very much. But first I'd like to dispose of something else, and that's the elections that are coming up. And I think I have changed, we must choose the least of the worst. I changed that over, well, let's try to choose the best of what's offered. I think women will understand that very deeply. But anyway, and my reason why I would do that is because while I certainly appreciate the attempts of the Green Party to come forward, I think the race is too close to risk it. So that's what I decided about the elections. Well, going on to what Michael had said, if you wish to answer me, I'll give you a chance.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, I can turn the radio off and on. And his reference to tanks on the road is stunning to me because years ago, during the Nixon regime, I had a vivid dream of a big tank parked right alongside the driveway of my house. And I was out talking to the soldier in it, and I said, "Will you please move the tank out that way?" I felt right at home. I think I've been living with that idea in my mind ever since the 70s. But anyway, a question haunts me about the conflict between Israel and, it seems, any Arab, Muslim, Islamic nation over there. And I can't help but think, it keeps appearing to me, so I'm going to think it through, that this is what seems to me a racial thing. Now, okay, I know that's not very popular to say these days, but it looks to me that way. And I wondered about that. Why is there such a hatred toward these particular group that is related to Israel and the Judeo-Christian tradition, Islam is? And I kept wondering about why is this so prominent? Even our own culture, I remember sensing that attitude, and even in stores where I used to shop and that were mixed up like that. So I think, and I was listening to a video that was entitled "The Mind of the Middle East," and it was talking about the invasion of the Christian, Judeo-Christian. I use the word Judeo because the philosophies are the same, pretty much, somewhat. And when they invaded the Middle East, they found a culture that was way ahead of them in mathematics, in architecture. I mean, the West was barbarian next to these people. They had buildings lined with silver and gold. I mean, it was incredible. So I think that because the Judeo-Christian, and this is deep-rooted, and people say, well, that's far out, but I still see it, the Judeo-Christian culture being essentially white or lighter, actually thought they were the exceptional ones, that they had hegemony and they were far advanced, that they were something. And so they did have some good inventions, but they couldn't match the beauty, the expression of these Middle Eastern countries that they were invading. And so I think that attitude of being jealous of a tribe of a different color being superior to us, exceptional, look at us, all white. So I can't let go of that idea. And I just wondered what you might think of it. Okay.
Thank you for your call. No, and I say that because we only have about 2 more minutes. I will respond, and then we'll go to music, and then to the news. I think it essentially comes back to the deep cultures that you find among these three religions. And the religions themselves, in the religious text, there's such a heavy emphasis on the concept of domination. You find it especially in the Christian text, and the Jews have been, I think, more living the life of domination, and the other side of domination, which is the side of being oppressed, being the victims of such domination. And oftentimes the victims of domination learn the tactics of domination very well, and at times even better than the prior dominators. It's very similar to slaves, and slaves oftentimes can become better slave masters than the slave master himself or herself, because they are able to see the enslavement from both points of view, and they know sort of the tricks of the trade to escape from that domination. And so what you are finding is that you have this DIE culture that is really what pervades this community, or those people who have brought the wars and brought the domination and have been the victors and have now rewritten the history. And as they prepare for war, they are coming with that mentality. It's always a challenge of who is the better, who's the smarter, who's the stronger, and the rest, rather than those who come from more an older culture, one of respect for one another, being philosophical, and the rest. The greatness of the Persians, for example, and yet not appreciated by many others, at least not by us as we went to the schools.
Kaulana na pua o Hawaii, Kupa ama hope o ka aina, Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino, Pala pala anunu me ka paka. Pane mai Hawaii moku o ke ave, Koku ana honoa o Pilani, Ka ko'o mai kaua I o mano, Pa'apu me ke one o ka kuhi he